So I want to share a story with you guys today. Something that I hope will motivate you. Um, I think you'll get a lot out of this if you have an ex that you still have feelings for and you're not sure how to deal with it, or if you have an ex that you miss because you were friends before you were together, or mostly if you have an ex that you have kids with and you're trying to do the right thing for your child. Then this is kind of hopefully a motivational story for you and how you can deal with that issue. So I used the power of hate. I recognized and accepted that I had hatred for the mother of my son. And over the last few days, I've given a lot of thought about the situation and the relationship that I have with my son and with his mother, and I found the desire in my heart to change that situation. So I meditated on my hate. I thought about why I hated her and why that hate was ruining the relationship that I have with my son and why it was ruining me ultimately. So I decided to use that hate as fuel and come up with something better to do, a way to be there for my son and to maybe let go of all this hate that I have and to get a few pieces of myself back. So it started off simple. I texted my first ex and asked her if she had a minute to talk to me. It took her a little while to message me back, and she said, "Yeah, what's up?" Well, I asked her if she would call me. She called me immediately because she was thrown off guard that I would actually want to talk to her, because I haven't talked to her but the absolute bare minimum of words in the past 5-6 years. So when she answered the phone, or when she called me and I answered the phone, it started off simple. I just asked if she wanted to try to be friends. I know that she had told me several times that she wanted to be friends, and I never was ready for that, so I thought maybe it was time for me to be ready for that. I ended up talking to her for over 2.5 hours on the phone, which may not be a lot to some of you guys, but 2.5 hours is more conversation than I've had with her in the past 5 to 6 years. Like, I have legitimately talked to her the absolute bare minimum, just said, "Here he is, okay, bye." So to talk to someone for that long, after that long of a break in a relationship, is weird, but empowering and freeing at the same time. So I wrote a few notes in my journal because I started to keep a journal, and I wrote some notes about the conversation that I had with her, and I thought that maybe if I made a video, it would help someone else who's in the same situation where they have an ex that they have a child with and they're not on good terms with them, and maybe they can learn from this and they can make a decision to be on better terms. So as I said, when I talked to her on the phone, I asked if she wanted to be friends. It definitely threw her off guard, and she asked me why I would want to be friends. And originally I thought I wanted to be friends with her just for the sake of my son and to save the relationship that I could potentially have with him. And then I realized that it wasn't necessarily the case. The more we talked, I opened up to her a little bit more, and she opened up to me a little bit more. I told her that I still had feelings for her because I never got proper closure on our relationship. And she told me that she also had some feelings for me and that she didn't quite have the closure she wanted as well. So we talked for a while about our relationship that we used to have. We were able to ask those hard questions of each other. You know, what happened on this night? What happened then? Do you remember this? You know, I need to know. Did you ever cheat on me? Things like that. And the more we opened up about the bad things of our relationship, the more we started to realize there were some good things too. So I found myself laughing about some times that I honestly had put away and forgotten about. And I realized that there was a point where she was my friend, way before she was my ex, way before we were together. We were best friends at one point, and that we were both kind of missing that friendship that we had and that deep connection because we had a lot of similar interests, and we had a lot of long conversations before we got into a relationship. It was kind of hard, but at the same time freeing to tell her that in a way I still loved her. And it was rewarding to put that out there and to receive love back when she told me that she still loved me as well. And we didn't love each other in the romantic way, but we love each other as survivors of a situation. We love each other as being the parent of our child and having given that to each other, having given, a child to each other. I told her that I didn't know how we could be friends, and she told me that it would be hard, but we probably could do it pretty easily, and I told her honestly it'd be probably more work for her to not give up on me. We talked about our son for quite a while, and we talked about some things that are coming up in his life that I otherwise would not have known about and that I had no idea about. And she told me quite a few stories, and I shared some stories that I had about him with her, and I gave her my word that I would be there from now on and that I would be there for as much stuff as I could be. I'm trying to change, and I want to be a man whose word means something, and it starts by giving your word and following through. So that's what I did. I gave her my word that I would be there for our son, and that was good enough for her. I honestly cried on the phone during this conversation, and I could tell very much that she was about to cry as well, but she held it together a lot better than I did. I'm just going through a lot more emotionally, so it was a lot easier for me to let go of it and just start bawling than it was for her. We kind of talked about our other kids. She has other kids. She's married now. She has a new life, but I was a big part of her life that was unresolved. And she was that for me as well. So we talked about our other kids. Shared a few stories about my daughter with her, and she shared a few stories about her other son and daughter with me. And it's important for us to know these details because our son has those kids in his life. They are his brothers and sisters. Just because he goes back and forth between us doesn't mean that they don't exist. So it's kind of important for us to know a few things about the other kids. We talked about our dreams and some ambitions, and it was hard for me to figure out what my dreams and stuff were. So we started talking about things that we were interested in, how our interests have changed, and about all the interests that we still had in common that we could build a friendship on. She told me about a lot of personal problems that she's been having, and I told her about some emotional and personal problems that I've been having in my life as well, and she talked about me and the feelings she had for me and the way she's been dealing with me as a box, as putting things away in this box that were still there in her head, but she couldn't let go of them yet, and she hadn't the strength to really deal with them. And I told her that I had the same thing. There was a file box in my head, and I didn't want it anymore. I told her that honestly I would never be able to forgive her for the situation that we were in and the way things had left off. But I told her that sometimes, as I listened to in a recent seminar, sometimes it is better to just forget than it is to forgive. So I was willing to just forget everything and start over as friends with her. She agreed to this, and I told her that we both needed to just throw those boxes away. She said that she was surprised that I called her and that she was very happy, because it has been years that she has told me she wanted to be friends, and she had always hoped that I would get to this point, and that she was honestly scared and worried about me, and that she had spent a lot of time thinking about me, especially in the past year, because she has seen a very, very big decline in me. And I told her that I was seeking to change that. So she offered to help me and offered to be my friend. We actually talked for so long that her husband came home and asked who she was on the phone with, and she said that she was on the phone with Anthony. And he was very surprised as well, and he was glad that I had finally called and was willing to try to be friends. And he had honestly tried to be friends with me many times before, but if you're a guy going through some kind of situation like this, I think you can understand how being friends with that guy would be a little bit hard. But I'm open to the idea, because I think it'll be good for my son, and ultimately it may be good for me as well. We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about child support and the Department of Family Services and all this stuff that's going on in our lives, and she told me about them moving and all kinds of things that I otherwise would have never have known or ever have gotten her opinion on, and I would have just continued to hate her for. In a way, it's like she gave me some pieces of myself back that I had been missing. And I truly think that I gave her some pieces of herself as well. When I left that conversation, I felt really good, and I felt like some weight had been lifted off of me. And it was nice to hear her tell me that she could tell that this was genuine and real because my voice was different. My tone with her was different. If you have a situation like this, and you're not sure what to do with an ex, obviously you have to have time to heal. I'm nowhere near ready to do anything like this with my daughter's mother, but my son's mother was a different story. Every relationship is different, and how they end can be catastrophic or freeing. And in this event, this was a very catastrophic relationship that ended abruptly and messy. So to be able to put that behind me and let it go, that can potentially save me. To have her as a friend when we used to be friends so long ago might just help me in the long run. Like I said, I made this decision to be friends with her because I thought it would be best for my son, and that it would allow me to tell her, look, I'll be there for everything I can. Please include me, and please make sure you tell me about everything. I thought that that's what the point of the conversation was. But once you open up, and you start to open up, and you unwrap those wounds, you'll be amazed at what really comes out. The real feelings that you have that are buried. And if you put love into the situation, if you seek to change that situation, to let go of that hate, and you want to change it with love, then you'd be amazed how much love comes back to you. It was an awkward conversation, yes, but it was a needed conversation and a rewarding one. It was nice to hear someone tell me that they honestly loved me, and for me to give an honest I love you back. And no, it wasn't in a romantic sense, but it was in a friendship way. It was nice to hear someone tell me that I wish I had this conversation with you in person because I wish I could hug you. Just things for you to think about. If you're going through a situation like this, please listen to this story and think about how you can apply this to yourself. Because this might save you. This might pull you back from a bad decision. This might just repair part of your heart, repair a friendship that you lost a long time ago, and ultimately it could repair and improve the life and relationship that you have with your child.